Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome to the beginning of a new series on the channel, that being the Deadlockathon. Yes, I'm going to call it the exact same as what I called the last series, which for those that don't know was called a DBD-athon. Now, in this series, I'm going to be going over every single character in Valve's not so secret, kind of hidden game known as Deadlock. But before I can go over every single character in Deadlock, I would like to first make this video, which will be a breakdown of the basics of Deadlock, as in gameplay, movement, item building, sort of general map stuff. Like, this video is going to be a basics guide for Deadlock for those to understand what I'm talking about when it comes to, future videos where I talk about characters specifically, because I'm going to mention things in those character dedicated breakdown videos that may not make much sense to someone who may not understand, the basics of Deadlock. So this is what this video is going to be. I'm going to break down the basics of Deadlock and hopefully provide a guide that would be helpful for, say, people that have never played the game before or who are recently starting, seeing as there has been quite a big buzz around it. And I can't thank you all enough for voting for this game, because I really, really like this game. Just to lay out the flat example straight away, Deadlock is a combination of a MOBA, which I believe stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, as well as a hero shooter, which may be akin to some games you may know, such as Overwatch, most obvious one, or even Paladins for all of my sad people who are upset that that game got shut down. But anyways, and I'm sure you're wondering what I mean by secret not so secret game for Deadlock. Here's a fun fact: you can't play Deadlock normally. It is not in a open beta state, it is in fact in a closed beta state. I believe it's closed beta. I don't remember what definition we're going with. Either way, the only way to actually get access to this game is through a referral code from a friend. You have to obviously have a friend on Steam, or just, have a friend on Steam, and I think they can just send you a code to access the game. I think there's an infinite amount of codes. So, because I'm so very kind, if you can message me on Steam, and I will show my Steam profile on the screen when I'm saying this, message me on Steam with proof that you subscribed, and I may just be nice enough to give you a code. That would be awesome. But that's just me doing a bad plug. But anyways, yeah, this video is going to be me breaking down the basics of Deadlock before I move into future videos where I'll go over characters specifically. Because as I said, in those videos, I'll be mentioning gameplay mechanics that may not make sense to, someone that's never played the game or who is recently starting. But with that said, I would like to take us into what is the sandbox mode, where you're allowed to trial and test things, and I will also eventually take us into a test area of the actual normal map of Deadlock to explain some things as well. So with that said, I shall see you in the sandbox area. Welcome to the training range, or the sandbox mode as the game calls it. This is an area where you can, experience and test out things in Deadlock, as well as new characters, abilities, etc, etc. But I am here to just show you a few simple gameplay mechanics, and the first is happening right before us. As you know, Deadlock is a third person, or I say as you know, for those that don't know, as you can see on screen, Deadlock is a third person shooter with, abilities and such, as you can see down here. Now, it is also a MOBA, as I mentioned, and the MOBA aspect of it comes through these little fellas, which I don't know if they actually have a name. I'm just going to call them minions, but these minions are going to appear in the game, and you are going to kill them. When you kill them, you will see that these little souls pop out of them. These souls act as your currency. This currency can be used to buy new items, to make yourself stronger throughout the, as the game progresses. You also have your own minions, and although I cannot show this outside of a normal game, these minions will also have souls that flow out of them. Now, you may be wondering what's up with the floating souls that float out of them. Well, you're able to shoot these, but so are your enemies. And if your enemies shoot those floating orbs, they will steal the souls from that enemy that you killed. You'll get the initial souls. See, I got 64 there, but I would also get an extra 64 from that floating soul. So it is in gameplay, it is a kind of back and forth of you killing their minions and making sure to secure your souls, as well as them trying to kill your minions and you know, secure their own souls. And there's a back and forth where you're trying to deny them from getting the points to give yourself more points to put yourself ahead. But I should, of course, mention some other simple gameplay mechanics. You can shoot guns, as I'm sure you can know. Sure you can know? You know what I mean. This video is going to be very unscripted, so don't expect, like, super duper high quality standard stuff, I suppose. It'll be good enough. Trust me, we're not here for optimization, we're here for passion. That's the tagline I'm now going to go with for the rest of my life. So yeah, you can shoot your gun. And you can kill thing. Yeah? You can also aim down sights and shoot gun and kill thing. But you also, that was an accident, you also have a melee button, which on PC by default controls is Q. This melee can, you know, it does, you know, fine enough damage, but you can also charge the melee to sort of push yourself forward. However, you should be careful when doing a charged melee, as it is quite telegraphed, as you can see. There's a wind up and a sort of bit where you go towards them. Also, punching a little fella secures the souls immediately. So when you are, you know, playing the normal game, it is actually worth maybe trying to close in the distance to secure the souls without the little thing floating up just by, you know, killing them with a punch. But these punches can unfortunately be countered by that little mishap that I pressed earlier. When pressing F on, you know, the default controls, you'll enter a parry stance. If someone punches, or if you punch someone who is parrying, you'll be stunned. And then, well, if you're stunned, it's a decent amount of time as well. You'll be stunned for a decent amount of time, which gives them the opportunity to kind of, you know, do a bunch of damage. But that's kind of, you know, some basic attacking mechanics. Of course, every character varies on punch animations and... I don't know if anyone has, like, ranged punch animations. I could be tripping, but we'll get to them if we get to them. Of course, as well, there is basic movement. You're relatively slow in Deadlock, all things considered, outside of, you know, buying items and the such. But, as you can see underneath my crosshair, there are 3 little bars, and I'm sure you're wondering what they do. Dash. You can do a little dash. Said dash obviously take up a charge, and they take some time to recharge. You can also jump, double jump, which also takes up a charge of your stamina. And you can also do a small little gameplay mechanic, little bit of tech, is if you jump and then, or sprint then jump, you'll do, I don't know what they're actually called. I think it's called a bullet jump. I could be getting it mixed up with Warframe though, but this is kind of like your easy way to kind of get a bit of horizontal movement. And you may have just noticed there, you can actually slide as well. When sliding, you get infinite ammo, meaning you can shoot as much as you so please, which is, you know, pretty fun. That's kind of the basics of actually, you know, shooting, jumping, etc, etc, etc. That's also the basics of souls. There is also another thing I need to mention. I'm sure you saw it shooting at me earlier. These fellas. I'll talk more about them when we actually get to the map, but for any of you who have played League of Legends, these are basically towers. These are objectives on the map that need to be killed to progress and eventually move towards a victory in some sense. You can only attack said towers when you have little minions with you, because otherwise the tower will just target you and, you know, eventually kill you. If you are standing near a tower and you damage an enemy hero, the tower will actually direct its attention towards you. So in situations where you are like fighting under tower and say there's an enemy there, you kind of don't want to shoot them, because then the tower is just going to start shooting at you. That's, you know, kind of the basics of gameplay in a sense. There's some more stuff I'll show on the actual map itself when we get to it, but whilst we're still here, you may have noticed there are boxes. Said boxes, okay, it didn't break and give me a soul. Those boxes can give you souls. A small amount, sure, but souls are souls, you know? As you can see here, there's 46 souls. You can pick that up, and as you'll notice, kind of on my back, you can see a little, what would you call that? A little ball? A little cage? That is to show that you have unsecured souls. What are unsecured souls, you may ask? They are souls that can be dropped once you die. So say you're carrying around 500 unsecured souls and someone else kills you. You'll drop those 500 souls and lose them. And then that player can then, pick them up and take them. But over time, as you can see in the corner, the souls will slowly secure themselves, meaning that they are permanently added to your inventory and you can use them to your heart's content. And you may have noticed these weird little golden statues. I hope that one of them does what it wants. No, it doesn't. If you give me a minute, I will eventually be able to show you what I'm on about. These can break and give you little pots that will give you small buffs in different areas, such as, for these two, fire rate. There's also stuff like bonus health. I think there's one for weapon damage and the such. Now, those buffs lead me on to the next part, which is damage types. As you can see here, there are two icons. They are switching, but that's besides the point. You have weapon damage as well as spirit damage. To kind of simplify it into easy terms, weapon damage consists of your gun as well as your melee, whereas spirit damage mostly applies to stuff like your abilities. Though, of course, some abilities can also do gun/melee damage. Now you may be wondering, how do I get more weapon damage? How do I get more spirit damage? The shop. The shop is very extensive, as you can see. There are lots of items here in 3 different categories, which is, weapon-related stuff, self or healing, survivability-related stuff, and spirit damage stuff. These items all have their own descriptions with their own abilities and the such, and, as you saw, you can create builds. Thankfully, Deadlock, to help my not very smart ass, has a build browser where you can look at other players' builds, favorite them, and then use them for yourself, which I personally would suggest, as a lot of these builds usually have, as you can see, quite good annotations of when you should buy certain items and what these items can do, such as, for example, this crayon gun build on Abrams. As you can see here, if I hover over restorative shot, you can see that the creator of this build has put an annotation underneath that says to sell the item later, which would help someone who is new to this game know to sell said item later. And as you can see, early game. So, someone who may not understand how the game works can know that they should buy these items early and then move to mid-game items, late-game items, and then, other stuff like optional items are here. So say you're losing in lane, which we'll talk about laning in a minute, or in a bit, you can buy these items to kind of help you out. A lot of these items all have very different effects. Obviously, the later ones are a bit more extreme and a bit more complicated, but they are something that you should keep aware of. All of your souls that you earn are going to go to these items to make yourself stronger as the game progresses. And it's very good to know and to browse builds. As good as the default builds are, as you can see, they are relatively simple and usually not too fantastic, I will admit, which is why I'm so very thankful that Valve has this sort of build browser, because if I had to live off of basic builds, I don't think I'd be alive. Also, for those that are wondering, these things here are temporary buffs that you can heavy melee to claim, and they'll give you, as you just saw, some bonus health or bonus health regen. If I break this one, you'll get spirit power and ability cooldown reduction. Maybe break this one, get extra stamina, extra sprint speed, etc, etc. There's also these fellas. For anyone who has played League of Legends again, these are jungle minions in a sense. These will be dotted around the map, which again, we'll get to the map when we get to it, which you can kill for extra souls. However, killing these enemies will give you unsecured souls. So you do need to be careful when running around the map and killing these fellas, because, someone else could hear you killing them and then just steal all your souls. You also may have noticed this thing. This is called Sinner's Sacrifice. By punching it, you sacrifice your own health to get souls. And if you punch it enough, it will then begin to slowly flicker. If you manage to time your punch with when it gets to the end, you'll get a bunch of extra stat bonuses. As you saw, I got bonus health, extra damage, etc, etc. And, of course, whilst we're still here, as the game goes on, you will receive boons. Boons are unlocked with sort of a certain amount of souls acquired, and boons will give you skill points, which can be allotted into your abilities. Each ability has to be unlocked first, as well as then can be upgraded up to 3 times with increasing amounts of boon points or ability points, whatever you wish to call them. And yeah, unless I'm forgetting something, I'd say that was the basics of Deadlock. In a normal sense, ignoring the map and such, which we will get to literally in a minute. I mean, I guess I could also mention this thing. This is the zip line. This can be used from your spawn in the normal map to traverse yourself to, you know, the actual fights. You can also use it to get out of maps, or get out of maps? Get out of fights and the such. You also can do wall jumps, I believe. Yep. I forgot to mention that in the movement bit. You can kind of like bounce off of the walls, which is pretty cool. And there's also these little fellas, which are dotted around the map and, you know, send you flying. I didn't actually know that one sent me up here, though. And I will also mention this in the map. There's these things. You'll see these around. If I remember rightly, the way they work is that you can sort of see... They're like one-way mirrors, in a sense. One-way doorways. Like, you can see through them, but you can't see out of them. Like, notice how those gold Buddha statue thingies are there? And now they're not. They're there? Now they're not. But yeah, I would say that's most of the basics. There's also teleporters. You can sort of walk in there. Oh, that will take me back to the main map. Whoops. Don't I don't want to go in there. That will take me back to the hub. Actually, you know what? It might not be a bad idea to show you what the hub looks like, because that will be the first thing many of you load into. Just because, well, no shit, this is what most of you are going to be loading into. If you know, message me, get code, or message a friend if they have it, get code. But yeah, this is the hideout. This is the main lobby of the game. From here, you can learn how to play the game. So there are actually tutorials. I didn't know that. You can spectate other people's games if you so wish to do that. This is where you would select a game mode, such as playing a standard match, playing against bots. Personally, if you're a new time player, I would recommend playing against bots to kind of like get yourself familiar with controls and how the map feels, etc., etc. There's also a sort of shop practice range. So here we can just sort of walk about, sort of test out support abilities on this friendly NPC here, or, you know, shoot and kill another player right here. Well, it's not another player, but you understand what I mean. There's also this little thing here, which you can use to just have infinite cooldowns. So say, for example, this charge ability. Look, now I can just immediately use it again, which is neat. And with that said, I don't know if you can hear my dog barking, but he is barking in the background. What a knob, but that's besides the point. With that said, let's explore New York City together. Which, I mean, yeah, this game's set in New York City. And ignore the guy shouting. This is the spawn point. This is where you will spawn into your games. You will notice the 3 different colored lines above. And this is where the shop also is, or at least one of the shops. As you can see on the map, shops are shown by that small green icon, which, you know, is helpful. Those arrows, which, you know, by the way, these are how the zip lines work, just so you know. You can use the zip lines to go to, you know, the points of interest that you will need to go to. Every match will start with 2 players funneled into each lane, because this is what these are. You have yellow lane, blue lane, green lane. So 2 players will be on each, and 2 enemy players will be on each, and they will kind of fight it out in these areas with, you know, like the minions and the stuff that I mentioned earlier. In each lane, there will be a shop right here, sort of in a safe place, well, relatively safe place. If this guardian is killed, this shop will disappear, meaning you will be left to go after the shops kind of here near the middle of the map. These 2 here are permanently available at all times, so you can go to those, though they are a tad bit risky. As you'll notice, they are kind of in between where lanes would be, so you can get caught out at these shops. So I wouldn't say like stay away from them like the devil, but just be aware of your surroundings when you're going there. And as you saw, there are little arrows on the map, some with multiple lines underneath it, and those, if I believe there is one up here, are the minion spawns, or the jungle camps, as if you would call them. If there is a single line, I actually can't see any with single lines. There's one right there where my cursor is. Ones with single lines will be the weakest. Ones with a single... No. Words. I'm getting them mixed up, sorry. Ones that are just a triangle are the weakest. Ones with a single line beneath it, such as this one, will be slightly, like, medium difficulty. And ones with double lines will be the hardest, which there is one right over here. As you can see, there are 3 red level enemies with quite chunky health bars. These will usually be saved for, you know, when you're later in the game and you just need a quick boost in souls. You may be wondering what that icon is there, the sort of square with a circle in it. Those, my friend, are, if I can find it, where the hell is it? The Sinner Sacrifice Machines, which, as I mentioned and showed earlier, you can punch and eventually punch max to get extra, you know, benefits and boosts and such. I do believe this is the map, by the way. I know I already said that, but this map is quite complex. I'm probably not going to be the best at discussing how the map works, probably, but this is what the map looks like. These are obviously, as I said, the lanes. There are sort of varying amounts of cover, like you can hide behind here and shoot. By the way, if I remember rightly, your characters can lean around objects. Like, this might be a bad example. I am trying hard. Like, kind of. I know some characters can lean around corners. Anyways, I guess this guy's important as well. This is the Spirit Urn, or Soul Urn, which you can pick up. And once picked up, you cannot shoot, you cannot use any abilities. You do get speed boost though. And by taking the urn to that marker there, you will get a boost in souls, like a chunky boost. However, as it says right here, if you pick up the urn, you are visible to all enemies at all times. So they know that you have the urn and they know you're going to be taking it to that spot. So it's kind of a team effort to get the urn there to get the boost in souls. You're just going to leave me laying around? Okay, yeah, I am. I'm going to leave you laying around. My bad, gang. That guy talks a lot, by the way. He will be very needy and demand that you take him around. So yeah, this is kind of what the map looks like. There's lots of high ground, like, at every opportunity. Like, there's a reason why there's zip lines everywhere. Like, people who can move around this map, it will be a pain in the ass to chase some people sometimes. There's a character that is recently released known as the Doorman. The Doorman can unbelievably traverse around this place. There's lots of high ground, lots of sharp corners, lots of tight corridors, which, you know, allows for quite interesting gameplay and very interesting chases. Even just an area like this, like, there's a section here where one could hide away from, say, someone else. A very tight corridor that can be used as a sort of escape tool. There's multiple sets of staircases, which, as I'm sure you would expect, you can slide down. And there's one of these doorways where, you know, things go invisible on one side or they're not, or the other. So for example, say you're being chased from this lane here, which is called mid lane. You could run this way and then slide down and hide into here. Like, this map is very well designed. Like, the map of Deadlock is unbelievably well designed. There is some really, like, just fun shit. This game's very, it takes a bit to get used to, especially to the item building and knowing what to do, what to level up when, blah, blah, blah. But this game, when it works, well, I say when it works, this game is fun. I really like this game. I cannot believe that this game is in a open or a closed beta. This is more polished and more fun than most actually normally available games. I do think, though, for me, it does come from a aesthetics standpoint. I love the sort of 1950s New York detective feel that this game kind of carries with it, as well as, you know, all the supernatural shit. I mean, the character I'm playing as right now is a literal blue demon. Devil? Demon? It's something along those lines. As you can see, I mentioned the thingy, little crystal. I'm gonna call them crystals. Little crystals earlier. They appear on the sort of up. What are these like? Overpasses. I don't know my building technological terms very well. But yeah, you can come up these zip lines and come up here and, you know, punch them and get whatever you need. And they also give a decent view of not only mid lane, but also right lane. That's also what the soldier looks like when it's descending, by the way. I feel like there's probably one more thing I need to mention. I don't think I'm probably missing a few other yeah, I am missing a few other things. As I showed earlier, before we move on to this thing, right in the middle, as I mentioned earlier, Guardians, that's what they look like. Can I make myself invincible? Yeah, can make myself invincible. So as I mentioned, these are Guardians, and they are, you know, they will attack you if you're in range. I'm not going to die, am I? Okay, no, I can't die. So they will attack you in range. If there are minions, they'll attack the minions. If you shoot a enemy character, like an actual player, they will then start to target you. You can obviously move out of range and they'll stop shooting you. However, besides the actual Guardians, there are also these. I believe these are called Walkers. These are the second objective you'll move to after you kill, you know, these. These are chunkier, as you can tell from the way larger health bar. They also will target minions first before they attack you. And they have a few attacks. They'll shoot this beam, as you can see right now. They'll throw out fireballs as well, which cover the area in fire. Or, if I can proc it, they'll stomp their feet. If you're in the area when they stomp their feet, you will not only, you know, take damage, but you will also be stunned, which is just lovely, isn't it? Once you pass the walkers, you'll be met by two Guardians guarding their base. If you manage to break through their line of defense, you will then be placed in their actual spawn, or the enemy spawn. In the enemy spawn, you have to kill these, which are, as you can see right here, shrines. Kill the shrines, you will open the opportunity to attack the patron, which is, you know, this weird floating fellow with a fireball in his hands. It looks more like a black hole. Once you kill both shrines and then kill the floating patron, the patron will then fall into this area. So this area will like open up to be a pit of some kind, and it will sit. Abram, shut up. This area will open up to be a pit, and the floating head of the patron will fall into the pit, and then you damage the patron, and if you manage to kill the patron in the pit, that's it. You win. And yeah, that's a very, very basic understanding of how the game works, in a sense. There are obviously quite a lot of technical mechanic stuff. You get what I'm saying. Like a lot of mechanics related stuff that will apply to the game. But I kind of think I've relatively well covered the basics of the game. I'm not very good at this game. Do not come to me expecting pro level explanations, how to grind your way to the highest rank. That's not who I am. I'm not the best at any game I play. I'm always just fine enough. I'm always good enough to win a few games and lose a few. I'm about as average a Joe as there has ever been an average Joe. And yeah, I feel like that's not everything mentioned. I can't believe I just lied to you guys. I guess you're all going to have to unsubscribe. Don't do that. Don't do it. I'm joking. Please don't do this. If you come down that pathway, as well as a few others on the sides, you will be met by the mid-boss. Now, this fella is a team effort. He's definitely a team effort. I know from experience that sometimes the teams will just ignore this bitch. There will be times where you play a game and no one ever kills it. But this big boy is, you know, he does, as you can see, he does quite a lot of damage. And there is actually a damage threshold to actually being able to hurt him. So you can't just like, you know, bum rush him on your own and kill him with your incredible damage. It is a team effort. As you saw, that yellow bar when I shot him, it only went down a little bit because I'm not doing enough damage to pass the threshold and actually hurt his health bar. But if you do manage to kill him, he will drop what is known as the Rejuvenator. I think that's the name of it. And if you manage to and the rejuvenator will slowly fall from the top of that arena, and if you manage to heavy melee it, you and your team will have quicker respawns for your next death, which is very helpful, because in Deadlock, as the match goes on and on and on, respawns will get longer and longer and longer. Especially if you're playing well, they will give you very long respawns. I've had times where I have respawns where I have to wait 80 seconds to get back into the game, which may put some people off, but genuinely, that is just kind of how these MOBAs work. League of Legends has the same thing. It's really the only other MOBA I've ever played. League of Legends is the same thing, where if you're performing well and it's late into the game, your respawn time is going to be like 40 seconds, which is obviously to give the enemy team an advantage, because in that time, you are dead, you cannot contribute to the team fight, and as a result, they have the chance to make plays whilst you can't, which is why most people go for the mid-boss, that being the Rejuvenator, when most of the enemy team is dead. However, as I mentioned, that Rejuvenator needs to be heavy meleeed to, gain the effects, which actually opens up the opportunity for your enemies to steal the Rejuvenator from you, even if you did all of that damn hard work to kill the boss in the first place. So usually in those scenarios, as the Rejuvenator falls, you will need to be aware. You need to be looking around and trying to prevent any enemies that may try to swoop in and snag it from you, per se. But yeah, I would say that's a relatively decent explanation of how Deadlock works. I think that is. I've kind of explained the general gameplay shooting mechanics. As any shooter game, by the way, of course, you're going to want to aim for the head at like all times, because, it's a shooter, you do more damage on headshots. No shocks there. I've explained melees, I've explained parrying, I've explained the movements, such as the jumps, the slide, crouch, all of that palaver, double jumps as well, wall jumps as well, which don't actually use stamina, which is quite neat. And yeah, this is what the map looks like. This is what, for some people, this might be their first time actually seeing what Deadlock looks like. So this is what Deadlock looks like. Yeah, I think I'm done. Yeah. So, minions. So the basic idea of the game, to kind of round out this video, sum it up per se: kill minions, get souls, buy items, kill the actual other players, destroy the Guardian. So destroy the Guardian, destroy the Walker, that's the name of it, almost forgot for a minute, destroy the 2 Guardians there, then defeat both shrines, defeat the patron in the pit, then you can win. Quite a lot. And of course, your other teammates will be in other lanes doing their own things, trying to push, blah blah blah. Sometimes people will jump from lane to lane to try and like gang up on one lane to push it. There's a lot of, gameplay stuff that you will learn to understand as and when you play the game. It's a game that requires I can only explain so much to you. I can explain the basics, I can explain how the actual game works, but when it comes to how it feels to play and, how a match will go along, that's something you may have to experience for yourself. Which is why, as I said, if you can, message me on Steam and say, hey, I've subscribed, then I will send you a code. Anyone that watches this video, I'm open to just sending people codes and, getting people into this game. Because if there's one thing I want to do, is to share this game with everyone. People voted for it, of course. I did a poll where people voted for what they wanted to see from me next. Deadlock won. This is why this video exists. But honestly, I would have made a video on this game anyways. Like, down the line, I would have eventually made a video. Because Deadlock is just genuinely, like, a really good game. It's not even finished. Like, it's not finished, which does make my work a little bit harder, because I could go ahead and make a dedicated video on a character and compliment their design, and then Valve is like, hey guys, here's the new design for blah blah blah, and all my work is ruined and I am doomed to ever fail. But yeah, this series, what I'm going to do, the Deadlockathon as I'm calling it, will be me going over every single character in Deadlock. And as you can see, there is quite a handful. Thankfully, when it comes to lore, although these characters do have backstories, I don't really have to say too much on them, because their backstories and, interactions are kind of all they have. And for some people, they have very short backstories. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm talking about him. But, like, genuinely, this game is really good. Like, the art direction on this game is insane. Like, some of, like a lot of the new characters, As you can see, there are a few marked with the word new. A lot of the new characters just have some really fantastic designs. Like, the doorman is a simple design, but because of his personality and how he acts and the way he moves, it just makes him like 20 times billion cooler. This fella's got a goat head. We'll get to them, or we'll get to everyone in due time, right? And yeah, and the first video in the Deadlockathon dedicated video series will be on Abrams, who is, I would argue, like kind of like the poster boy for this game. He's kind of like he's kind of the protagonist, but not the protagonist. This game doesn't really have a protagonist, doesn't really have much of a story, at least not a very easy to understand, obvious one. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but this game doesn't really have much of a story yet. We've got some groundwork, we got some a basic layout of one, but nothing that I really know off the top of my head, which may just be me, you know, being stupid or forgetting things. But yeah, this is the Basics of Deadlock. As I said, if anyone wants to subscribe and message me on Steam, yeah, I will give you a code, etc, etc. And yeah, we're at the end of the video. I really enjoy Deadlock a lot, and I'm excited to make all of these videos on these characters because for the most part, outside of a few, I have quite a lot to say on them, especially in the design and personality departments, because the personalities of these characters are just actually insane. And unfortunately, I would give my props to a lot of these voice actors, but for the most part, a lot of them are speculative, because this is a game in work in progress, and a lot of the people that voice in this game were probably under NDA to not say anything about it. We can only guess who voices who. Though if you want a personal throw in the ring, Drifter, he's definitely voiced by Matt Mercer. I know it. I know he's voiced by Matt Mercer. I can feel it in my bones. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to cry myself to sleep. But yeah, this is the end of the video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments, etc, etc. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, whether that be a good morning, afternoon, evening, etc. And I shall see you in the first episode of the Deadlockathon, though this is technically also the first episode. The first dedicated character episode of the Deadlockathon, that being on John Abrams. His name isn't John Abrams. John Deadlock. Let's call him that. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.